Oh, welcome all investors and interested parties tonight. My name is Migrate Lucas. I'm heading up the deal flow department here in Wealth Migrate, and we're quite excited tonight to share with you an update with our friend and long partner here, Stuart Ferguson. Stuart, welcome.
Good, always good to be here. It's nice to be all in one place. We're normally traveling in different countries around the world, so it's great to be in South Africa with you this evening.
Yeah, and then my colleague Willie, thanks for supporting me here tonight.
Yeah, no, it's great. It's an exciting presentation, and I'm looking forward to hearing more, and I hope you guys enjoy it.
Yeah, and then last but not least, Stuart, we got a nice surprise guest on here tonight. Perhaps you can introduce him.
Yeah, thanks very much. I'd like to introduce you to Advocate Leon Versfeld. He's an ex-South African who's based in Texas. I've been working quite closely with Leon over the last couple of months as the surge of inquiries have been coming out of South Africa, and then we've recently also been doing some activation in the greater UAE, and we'll be traveling next month to do some activation in India. But obviously there have been a number of changes in respect of the program, and perhaps Leon, you'd like to introduce yourself and just give us a legal update in respect of where we currently stand from an EB5 perspective, where you see legislation going forward.
Yes, thank you very much, Stuart, and good evening. There has been quite controversy surrounding the EB5 program ever since the 2008 economy downturn in the United States, and a lot of fraud has been plagued being through the EB5 program that has made potential investors and people seeking to get a better future in the United States through this program leery of really investing. Congress have taken notice of this fact and has started negotiating and talking about ways on how to improve the EB5 program. Under the Obama administration, there has been a couple of things going back and forth, but the EB5 program, which is part of the budget legislation that typically gets voted on in the fiscal year of October, in other words, September 30th, has been basically just been extended and extended over the last couple of years, and which has caused some frustration and anxiety with regards to some potential investors needing to invest, prior to those deadlines, not knowing what Congress is going to do. We knew under the Obama administration that at least, we had a Congress that if we can bargain at least on one thing, it was that they couldn't agree on what day of the week it is, and so therefore, it was at least one of those things where we needed to kind of wait and see what the new administration was going to bring to us. The new administration has brought some excitement to the program. One of which we have a guy who's currently in power that understands the EB5 program, who has utilized the EB5 program, and in fact just recently there was some controversy in the New York Times just I think earlier this week with regards to his son-in-law Kushner utilizing this EB5 program since the extension. We've had an extension year because the administration wanted to prioritize the new healthcare prior to the bill, and so they extended this until end of September to deal with this on a clean slate. So nothing really has changed on the program, where you have a minimum investment of $500,000 for the regional centers, like the ones with the Gold Coast, Florida Regional Center, and also with regards to the $1 million thing. A couple of things that are on the horizon for change end of September and even prior to September is there's going to be a new Form I-526 that's going to be coming out in June 9 that is going to totally revamp with regards to what information is going to be collected from investors and something to be taken notice of. This form kind of follows a line with some of the other immigration forms that we as immigration lawyers are very comfortable with and deal with on a daily basis, that actually in this case goes from a 3-page 526 form to a 13-page long form. and specifically deals with information about 5 years of past history of employment and addresses.
Maybe I can interrupt you a little bit there. I think let's just move on a little bit before we get into that much details. I think what we want to do tonight is also, first of all, educate a little bit people, you know, exactly what that is, and the details that you're saying at the moment is maybe too fast for a lot of people. So what I want to do is, I think the main thing that we want to start off tonight is pretty much really just ask the people that's online and also going to listen to this, is really there's obviously a lot of changes that's happened in South Africa. There's a lot of changes that happened in the world. And, you know, that's really prompted a lot of people that actually just asking, you know, what is your plan for your future? Yeah, so pretty much you're going to really have to understand, if all goes well in the one direction, then it's pretty much fine. But a lot of people, and myself and Willie and our guys that's really dealing with investors, are starting to get a lot of plan. You know, what can happen, what's possibly to happen, and then also we see there's a lot of people that's got a lot of fear. And I think the approach that we from Wealth Migrate is talking, and I'm sure it's from Stuart's side as well, is that, you know, we really want to basically need to have a plan how to deal with this uncertainty. And what we found is a lot of people are obviously doing investments, and then once they do investments, then inevitably the question also comes up, is there an investment that I can use to actually maybe have a plan if my plan is to emigrate to another country? So I think that's where we are out. And then, yeah, what we from a Wealth Migrate perspective is saying, well, there's a lot of options that you've got, and what we want to do tonight is really discuss the one option is really that we want to empower you as an investor to really be a global citizen, and ultimately to have the choice, or the choice to have the freedom where you want to live, etc. So what we have found in the past is that a lot of people are actually looking for additional passwords. From a South African perspective, a lot of people are saying yesterday, if I can emigrate. But I can assure you, we've been dealing with guys in Australia, we've been dealing guys in America, Canada, pretty much all over the world. And you know what's fascinating to me, Stuart, I've seen it now a few times, is that sometimes we think we got the only one with the problem. And then when we talk to even Americans wants to abdicate American citizens. You know, I don't know what's your experience on that. So the issue is that this problem is not unique. And what we want to do tonight is then tackle only a subset of this option, which is now what is the immigration and visa potential that one has currently, specifically for the United States. From our perspective, we are aware, obviously, of a lot of passports all over the world. You know, specifically of investment passports for Australia. There's for Europe, there's for England, there's a lot of islands that you can have a program for. So I think the point that I'm making is there's such a wide range of options that you need to do, and obviously the first step is really to educate yourself. And I think that's the aim for tonight is when we really look at all of these visas, it's such a wide spectrum, but the one that's always coming back and that has been, you know, been very clearly a favorite amongst a lot of people is actually to say, I'm actually planning potentially to immigrate or move to the United States. So that's the point. And now we're saying, well, if that is something that you really want to do, what's the options? Yeah. And that's the aim for tonight. And yeah, Stuart, I can't actually ask for a better guy than yourself. How long have you been doing this?
I mean, you know, strange enough, I mean, just a couple of words that you said previously is that, remember, our investments really stand up on their own 2 feet. And I think that's really where our synergies and our relationship actually started many, many years ago. But I mean, I've been actively marketing the EB5 program here in South Africa since 2010. And if you have a look at the stats in respect of the number of EB5 applications that were being done in 2010, opposed to what they currently stand at, you'll see that certainly our activities from a Gold Coast Florida regional centre have dramatically increased the volumes in respect of South Africans that are investing through the EB5 scheme and specifically through our program into our various investments and have been successful. And those volumes are continuously increasing.
Yeah, so we hear the acronym EB5. When I travel to America, I know there's a B1 visa, there's a L1, there's a H1, there's every L thing, H1, 2, 3, whatever it is. Yeah. So what I would like to ask you is, just before we dive into the EB5 itself, maybe just highlight the 3 or 4 major types of visas that you get, and of course we're going to dive a deep dive between the other specific investors, but just as a start off, what's the spread of visas that's available?
I mean, currently now one would make application for a B1, B2 visa, which is a 10-year multi-entry that allows you visitor status, and then obviously the B2 component allows you to engage in certain business activities. But that would traditionally give you a period of up to a maximum of 6 months. Obviously, since Trump has come in, immigration monitors and watches the inward and outward travel of various people into the United States. Then also what has been popular has been the L1, and Leon will be covering a little bit of that in a Q&A that we're going to have shortly. And the L1 has come under a lot of scrutiny at the moment, and I'm actually, from a regional centre aspect, we deal with a lot of L1 failures where people have been in the States for a long period of time and the L1 is no longer meeting their criteria, and then they need to urgently convert it. So I always say to people, if you are serious about the American dream and you're wanting an absolute 100% guaranteed mechanism to get to the end goal, which is a green card in your hands for you and your family, that's members up to the age of 21, husband and wife and mine is up to the age of 21. The only guaranteed mechanism is through an EB5 investment visa. Its current investment, the current investment threshold remains at 500,000 USD until September, the end of the fiscal year. And as Leon mentioned, there are about 5 different bills before Congress at the moment. And they vary in respect of the proposed changes. The most critical one for South Africans is obviously the increase. And certain of the bills are suggesting an increase of threshold to 800,000 USD. Others, in fact, are going right up to a maximum of $2 million.
But let's start with the basics. I just see one question here quickly. What is an EB2 option?
Is there an
EB2 option?
Yeah. Leon, do you want to maybe just talk through the EB2 option?
Sure, absolutely. EB really just stands for employment-based, and these are various different green cards that you get. Employment-based 2 category is really for people with advanced degrees, those with master's degrees, or those with exceptional ability that meet certain criteria and or going through a labor certification through sponsorship of a U.S. employer who's able to kind of get a green card through that process.
Okay, awesome. I think that's clear. So what I want to do, Stuart, is before we get into the real technicalities, so just give us what happens if I do EB5, what's the basics of it. You guys are so familiar with the nuances and everything. I just, for a first-time investor, maybe just say, what is EB5, what's the timeline, and then we can maybe go into the very specific details.
First of all, I need to highlight that the EB5 arena, besides the failures that you will read in various blogs, is a highly regulated industry. So we are the licensee holders of the regional centre and the developers that fall under that license. It took us 3 years and $3 million to get that license in 2010, and that license is a very critical license. We're governed by SEC, and there's going to be a lot of additional SEC scrutinization, both in respect of the developments, the offerings that are made, and more specifically the actual regional centres that make those offerings. So it is a very, very highly regulated industry. And before we accept any potential investor into one of our developments, we do a fully comprehensive due diligence in respect of their ability, A, from a source of funds, and B, that they will meet the minimum criteria to get to the end, which is a green card.
Why does the American government actually would like to have an EB5 program? What's in it for the Americans and what do they get out of an EB5 program and investors going there?
Yeah, well, Michiel, I mean, the EB5 program is attracting foreign investment.
Okay.
At the moment, it's 500,000 USD. The program is oversubscribed on an annual basis. Right now, there's a backlog in excess of about 25,000 pending applications awaiting adjudication. Hence, Congress is saying, well, this program is one of the cheapest programs in the world, and we have the ability to raise it. So why not let's raise it to $1 million or $2 million?
So my understanding is that if they get this money, their aim is to actually point it in certain places where they need enhancement or further develop infrastructure. So maybe just point out how does they use the money, the various users of it, and where do they direct the funds to?
Yeah, well, in fact, I mean, in this case, if you were dealing and investing directly with us as a regional center, that would be going into an investment.
A property
investment, mixed-use developments traditionally. For every tranche of 500,000 USD that we accept, we've got to be deemed to be creating 10 jobs directly or indirectly for Americans.
But it's typically in places which I understood they want to actually develop, correct? So it's not going in any locations. The government's actually very clearly regulating it towards certain locations.
Correct. We have two licenses, one in the state of Florida, and we've recently just had a new license in the US Virgin Islands, which will be a project that will be launching later. But we fall within what's known as a TA, Target Employment Area. So it's in an area that is deemed to be in need of job creation.
Oh, I see. And then what I understood is that there's property developments that's registered for EB5 program, but is there other types of investments as well?
Yeah, I mean, there are a number of other regional centers that focus on infrastructure developments. And in fact, USCIS and immigration, in terms of some of the proposed bills that are currently before Congress, are actually encouraging that there's a possible change. So we've been fortunate to have access to build these nice big condo units and hotel developments and retail shopping centers in marginal areas, but going forward that could be a different landscape post the end of September. So at the moment we're able to afford investors a relatively nice safeguard in respect of an underlying investment.
Maybe just to give a background to these questions that we ask from a Wealth Migrate perspective, we investigated the EB landscape quite intensively and was fascinated by the fact that there's so many different areas and so many different types of EB5s. Mm-hmm. And I think, Stuart, what's fascinating for us that when we did this investigation, it actually led us back to you guys. And we'll get into the specific details just now, but from my perspective, I think what we've seen that is a very broad-based type of program, and one of the methods that they use is actually the actual property developments where you then actually create the fund. So I've got these benefits down here. I don't know, Steve, if what's further comments on them?
No,
you comfortable with them?
Really, the most critical aspect is that you're not a hardened criminal, and really we focus to a large degree on the due diligence in respect to the source of funds. And generally, if those two boxes tick clean, your ability and your eligibility is pretty much guaranteed.
All right. So I think the main question I think that we found quite a lot, especially when we've talked to people, is specifically the difference between the L1 and the EB5 visa. So I think in this case, shall we ask Leon maybe to help us out here? Leon, dumb it down for us so that we really understand it, so that it's clear that why would I do L1 and why would I EB5?
Unfortunately, I can't participate in this one because I'm exceptionally biased in respect of the EB5 program.
Well, sure. Look, the L1 visa was created for, it's called an intercompany transfer visa, where you have a South African company and you go open up a branch in the United States and then transfer your managers, executives, and specialized workers. over to the United States. I typically use the Coca-Cola example. Coca-Cola in South Africa, say for instance, wants to open up a branch in the United States. So they want to send over their executives over there to the marketing people, and also, more importantly, the guy who knows what the mixture of how to make this the syrup of the Coke in order to make it popular in the United States. Well, people have utilized this this L visa quite extensively, and a lot of South Africans as well, to open up branches in the United States, and thereby, moving some of their staff over, and ultimately, staying there and becoming permanent residents. The L1A is for multinational executives and managers, and then you also have the L1B. That is, in my example, the guy who knows how to mix the Coca-Cola syrup. He's the specialized worker within the field, knowing the proprietary knowledge about the product. So the L1Bs, there are probably a percentage of close to 57% of L1Bs that are getting denied just because of new policies that immigration has installed, especially with regards to some folks coming from India, and we're having a lot of issues with regards to L1Bs. But here recently, the L1As, also for intercompany transferees of multinational executives, have become a major issue. And it has seemed like immigration is clamping down. To give you, for instance, the recent statistics, any L1A visa that is currently being filed, there is over 51% of those applications that will get what is called a request for evidence from immigration. So once the guy files his application, it's more likely than not that the guy will gonna get a request for evidence asking about certain of the information that's been submitted. And it could be detrimental sometimes to the case wherein you are left with the interpretation of the immigration officer to interpret the regulations, and ultimately, since we are in an administrative process, you are left with an immigration officer who's going to make a determination as to whether or not you meet the qualifications or the definition of executive or manager. This is becoming more and more of an issue with regards to folks coming into the United States, and we do a lot of L1 visas in our office, where people get situated in the L1 because the initial L1 will be granted for 1 year. Then thereafter, when you apply for a renewal, we typically find a situation where you have some discrepancies with regards to immigration interpreting the executive or manager definition different from what they've done in the past. What you need to understand, the illogical way and the inconsistency on how immigration in the United States goes about adjudicating these cases is not what we are used to in South Africa or what you get in other parts of a legal system. Just because they granted you the initial L1 and nothing has changed and you are keeping with your business plan, it does not mean that your L1 extension is automatically going to get renewed. But let's say, for instance, you and your family go over, you've uprooted everything in South Africa, you ultimately find your way in America with a successful L1A, you're still going to, after 6 months when you apply for the renewal before the 1 year extension, still going to be at edge with regards to whether or not they're going to renew that L visa or not. There's a high percentage of those renewals that get denied because everybody would know that it is difficult, if not impossible, for any new business to start anywhere and make a success of it in the first year. Let me know that you go do this in a new country where you are new to the culture, new to the society, and so on and so forth. So we see a lot of L1 renewals get denied. But it even gets worse. If you find yourself in the United States having started to buy a house, your L1 got extended, and kids are going to school, and everybody's getting situated, that you find yourself again in a situation where you renew that L1 again, and with a chance that it may still get denied. So the L1 is always kind of a risky situation because of the inconsistency of how immigration adjudicates these cases.
Leon, if I could just...
and then you do find some folks who are ultimately successful. A lot of the folks that we find doing L1s are folks who just cannot afford the EB5. You know what, guy?
Leon, I just want to a little bit. Your signal is a little bit bad, so I think let's just.
Did you want to say something?
Yeah, just your signal is a little bit delayed, so just let's just let that signal calm down a bit. Stuart, maybe just continue on that vein.
Leon, I just wanted to mention what we are finding is because of the processing timelines.
So what I was going to add to the L1 is that you can. Yes, please.
So Leon, your signal is very bad at the moment, so I'm going to just cut you short there. Sorry about that. So Stuart, maybe just continue, please.
Yeah. What I was going to say is what we are finding is currently an EB5 application for us to do a full adjudication or for that file matter to be adjudicated is taking roughly about 17 months. And then for us to go into the consular process for the immigrant visa to be issued prior to the issuance of the green card is a further 6 months. So from the date that somebody makes an investment to the date that when they are applicable and able to enter into the United States, it's taking a period of up to about 2 years. So what we are doing and what we are finding is that for those South Africans that are wanting to move faster and quicker and settle down in the States far earlier than waiting for the 24 months time to elapse, is that in some cases what I've been doing with Leon is that we jointly file an L1 application whilst we are busy with an EB5 investment. And that eliminates any potential downside in respect of a family life being disrupted with the unknowns of an L1 going forward.
Okay. But I think what I can say to you, we've had a lot of questions is, what is the influence of Trump on all of this? Maybe just give us some quick perspective on that.
Without a doubt. I mean, Trump has had a major impact on all visa statuses.
Okay.
And one must realize that an L1 is simply a visa. An EB5 investment visa ultimately is a green card.
Oh, okay.
So hence we've had all these articles that have been published and all the blogs in respect of all the other visa categories that have come under scrutiny. So without doubt, Trump has had a major impact in respect of the L1, and I think going forward you'll find that the rate of denials in respect of L1s will substantially increase.
Okay, and then I think the other thing that I always get confused a little bit is, what is the difference between a green card and citizenship?
There is no difference. The only difference between a green card and citizenship is that a green card holder is not able to vote.
Oh, okay, that is clear. All right, so Stuart, I think what I understood is that your specific organization is very clearly positioned to actually offer the EB5. So what I would do in the next quick minutes, just don't want to take too much time, is just give us a rundown. Who are you, and what are you busy with, and what is the opportunities?
Yeah, Leon, our consortium have been active in the greater South Florida area for in excess of 18 years. We were traditionally just buying income buildings. During the good times, during the subprime crisis, we had a lot of land ownership in terms of greenfields developments, and that is where we stumbled upon the EB5 program. So we actually came into the EB5 program by default, but obviously it's been a great program for us. I personally have successfully filed and had over 200 green cards issued through the EB5 program into our various schemes. And I think more importantly from a South African perspective is that our managing members and our equity stack is mainly made up of South Africans. And we've got some very well-known South Africans. Three of our managing members are Peter Jagger and Don McCarthy. I've had a long association from a family aspect with them. And then more importantly is a chap by the name of Harish Mehta. Harish is a well-known public figure in South African circles and a well-respected managing member of ours.
Yeah, that for us, Stuart, it was when we did the due diligence on you guys, it was so refreshing to meet the South Africans. We specifically meet you and Peter down in Umhlanga, and then we obviously met you guys both in the US already. Yeah, so from our perspective, it's fascinating, and I think Chip is the managing director, if I understood it.
Yeah.
And he's pretty much from American side. So yeah, so I think a very strong balance sheet, maybe just give us an idea about, I think you alluded to the very difficult process to become a regional center.
Yeah, it took us 3 years and $3 million, but we got our designation in 2010. Bearing in mind that on an annual basis, we have to do various submissions to the USCIS and SEC in respect of our ability. So on an annual basis, our designation in terms of a regional center is revalidated. And then obviously in respect of making the offering at the 500,000 USD threshold, we on an annual basis in respect of the job censuses have to provide those stats to the USCIS, and we've got obviously all our various TA letters. In terms of our success rate, our R526 or our immigrant approvals, as I mentioned, I mean, we get those coming through on a monthly basis. We currently have a number of our investors currently in the process of going through their R829, which is a removal of their conditional status, which is when they would be eligible for their capital redemption. In terms of our global presence, obviously I'm South African. I spend a fair amount of time here, but we've got operations in China like you guys have. We've all loved going to China. We've got activities in Moscow, in the UK, and then obviously the slide's slightly outdated, but I've recently opened up channels in the UAE and will be shortly infiltrating India. Just a little bit about our 2 projects outside Fort Lauderdale. This is just a snapshot of Hollywood Circle.
So this will provide the employment for the EB5 motivation to the government, correct?
Correct.
Okay, awesome.
This project value from a capex aspect is $196 million. And this project completes in September of this year.
Yeah, this is awesome. I've still, like I said, I went there the first time when they actually did the piling, and I was recently there in April and in January, and yeah, I think you had your roof wetting ceremony. So it's fascinating to see that your project has actually come off, and from our perspective, I think it's just awesome. We've had numerous successful investors now actually obtaining the EB5s from this, which we actually know.
Yeah.
So that's a nice success story so far. Yeah, here we're seeing some aerial programs.
Just out of interest, here on the ground floor, we've got public sign up on a 20 plus 20 year lease. They're a Fortune 500 company. We've got a small hotel operation under management. We have a large hotel portfolio here in South Africa. And then we have 397 condo units, which would be pure rental stock.
So how many visas is possible with the construction effort of this project?
Well, in fact, on this one, we've just recently done our revised job count, and we've actually managed to create additional jobs. We are fully subscribed on Hollywood Circle at the moment, but we are going to, the managing members may be doing a dilution and making it available to Wealth Migrate, because we're very interested to see the success of your crowdfunding platform, and we believe that there'll be a long-term relationship. So we are in discussions in terms of making some potential EB5s available on what we would call offering 3. Those legal docs are currently being drafted, and that would go through your fund, hopefully.
Okay, awesome. And then I think what I found fascinating is, Stuart, that you guys have been very strategic with your approach. And for those that maybe don't know, but this is in Hollywood, and Hollywood is not the Hollywood that we normally think about. It's the Hollywood in Florida. It's pretty much between Florida and Miami and Fort Lauderdale. And true to the nature of the EB5 programs, this culminates in the center, or where basically these developments are moving and developing to, and this is the Hollywood Circle. And around the circle, you guys has got these 2 projects, and the second one is this Block 40, which you are talking about. Yeah. So yeah, you can see the circle. It's fascinating. They've been so strategic. They're actually buying and dominating around. That's another principle that we quite enjoy from a property perspective, is that they pretty much are going to dominate the area and actually revitalizing it.
Yeah, there are very few properties in this precinct that we don't have under negotiation or have not secured. And I think more important is that we've got a great relationship with the city there from a redevelopment agency, and they offer us quite lucrative incentives in respect of contributions towards our capex.
What is quite interesting is I also had the privilege last year in October to meet up with the team, and at that stage they were pouring the concrete for the swimming pool. We were told whilst we were looking out on the street that my understanding is there's no the height restriction is to such an extent, that no one else is going to be able to obstruct these views of these buildings, So that's why it's also such a marvelous space where it is. You will be able to see this. You can see the sea from where it's located.
Correct. Well, very important from a mixed-use development where you've got a combination of hotel and rental stock.
Yeah.
Americans are very much about lifestyle, and rental stock is critical. Facilities, accessibility. Then also in the US Virgin Islands, we've got a site called Mahogany Ridge. It will be a development known as North Drop LLC. We own just over 3 acres. We've owned the site for a long period of time. We've recently just made application for another regional centre. Remember, regional centres are specific, allow us to raise capex in specific zones. So we've got the one in Florida. We've just had this license come through in December. We have a signed and executed management and technical service agreement with Hilton International, and they currently are busy assisting us with the design criteria of this hotel, which we'll be launching through and making available through EB5 later on.
That's awesome. You're actually very moderate here, Stuart. Haven't you won some very nice awards?
Yes, this one Deal of the Year with Hilton last year for the Caribbean.
Excellent. I think what's fascinating about Stuart is we as Wealth Migrate take a long time to choose our partners, and I think so far so good. It's been fantastic. So to that end, I think if you're pretty much interested in talking specific, maybe in your circumstances, contact one of the Wealth Migrate guys. We'll set you up with Stuart and them. So what I would like to ask in this specific case, if there's specific questions from the audience with regards to the EB5 itself, and maybe Leon, we can quickly try again your sound, just to make sure that you're not sleeping over there. So maybe if you can switch on and join us again, and just let's see if the signal is better at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm still here if the sound is good.
Awesome. We got one question here, which Willie, maybe you can help us out, and then the panel can answer for us.
Is it not unreasonable for immigrants disallow an L1A visa renewal after the company has invested funds, moved people, etc.? It's a question from Tony. I don't know if you've got that. So
I can address that.
Okay. Thanks.
Look, nothing in the L visa requirements specifically talks about the amount of money that you need to invest. So it becomes irrelevant how many people you've employed, how much money you've invested, and how good your company is doing. If the immigration officer do not believe that you qualify as an executive by his definition, your L visa gets denied, even if you're employing 250 US citizens. And I'm saying this from an example that we've had with an Indian company that set up a factory there in the United States.
All right, awesome. We've got another question here from Martin. Will you maybe highlight that to us?
Does having the EB5 green card means you have to stay in America for a certain period of a year or permanent? Can you have the visa and stay in South Africa?
Brilliant question.
Brilliant question.
I think we had that quite a few times.
Yeah, it's a question that we get posed a lot, and I'm going to allow the immigration attorney to answer that specifically with reference to the re-entry aspect. Leon?
Yes, absolutely. Look, one of the requirements once you do get your green card is that you do not stay outside of the United States for more than a year. And if you do, then there is certain documents that you can file, what is called a re-entry permit, wherein you tell immigration ahead of time that I may not be back for a year, and that re-entry permit allows you to stay out of the country for 2 years. It is typical the situation. The reason why that was created is for people who have contracts or business dealings outside the United States. A lot of the athletes that we deal with, they get a contract to go play overseas, and they may not be back for a while, because there is an assumption by law that if you do not return within that time, that you have abandoned your permanent residency. So the short answer is, can you stay outside? Yes, you can. Just need to let me know so that we can file the appropriate documents so that when you re-enter, that there's no questions asked with regards to abandonment of permanent residency.
All right, awesome. Then we've got a question here from John. Willie?
What costs are involved for filing EB5?
Yeah, from a regional centre aspect, it's project dependent. Our costs vary dependent on project, between $40,000 and $60,000 as an admin cost, and then typically a EB5 filing to take you up to R526 from an immigration aspect. And Leon, I hate to peg you to a value, but I do see your invoices is roughly about $20,000.
Right, another question from Tony. Once you have an EB5, how soon afterwards can you petition your immediate family to join you in the US?
Leon, that one's for you.
Well, sure, absolutely. Look, when we talk about immediate family members, one would assume that if you, Tony, have applied for this EB5, that included in that $500,000 investment, your spouse and your kids under 21 is already included. You don't need to, petition for them separately. They're all included in that $500,000. However, if you do have someone, let's say you become a permanent resident, you have a son or daughter over the age of 21, as a permanent resident, you can sponsor them as well. However, it is going to take some time. You need to, consult a visa bulletin, which gives us an idea of how long that takes. I think last time I checked, it takes about 7 years for a permanent resident to sponsor an unmarried son or daughter.
So sorry, just a follow-up question. Is it better for a son to petition a parent, or a parent to petition a son?
So a child can only petition their parent once that child is a US citizen. Because a permanent resident, a green card holder, so let's say a son gets a green card, this EB5 green card, he cannot petition for his parents.
Awesome. Now I think that's pretty clear. And then I think the magic question, if you don't have 500,000, can you somehow finance it? I think that's another question.
So does it have to be your own money, or can you go to the bank, or how does it work, or lend it,
I think
or borrow it? Sorry.
Yeah. Well, yes, you can. You can gift it from a family member. You can loan it. You can loan it from a business. You can loan it from a friend. We do, however, we are noticing that we are getting a lot of RFEs where we make reference to a loan. If it is going to be loaned from a trust or a family member, then that loan needs to be secured by some form of collateral security. But we can deal with that on a separate inquiry basis.
All right, awesome. I think that's the bulk of the questions. I see there's quite a lot of interest here. So for those that still have a question, I think it sometimes becomes very relevant that they actually have to take into your personal circumstances. And so from that perspective, please contact us. Please put in the question bar if you want to be contacted. JP and Jock, our investment consultants, would get all of you. And obviously, we can also point you in the direction of Stuart. So from that perspective, we also want to allude to you that if there's potential guys that's in Johannesburg, Leon and Stuart will be in the Johannesburg area next week. I think Leon at the moment is in Cape Town. Yeah, so pretty much these two gentlemen cover most of the country. So from that perspective, I urge you put in there if you wanted to be contacted, and we from Wealth Migrate side will surely put you in there. So on that note, I would like to maybe just give you guys a little bit of a quick update what's happening on our side. For you that is not aware of it, Wealth Migrate is now, sites are fully up for about a year and a half. We're on version 2 already, and I quickly just wanted to show everybody how that has looked. So for those that hasn't been to our website. So it doesn't seem to be so easy to log in here. Yes, there's it. So please visit us on the Wealth Migrate website. I've been actually logged out here, so I'm just going to quickly log in here. Hope it doesn't take too long. So what we are currently doing and showing is currently all our projects that we on board. So those that hasn't really registered with us, please do that, log in. And I think what we're going to show you here is pretty much we've got our current projects, and I think Stuart, what we're very excited about is with our relationship, we are actually going into what we call a coming soon project. Philly's going to give us a highlight of that soon, and as you can see here, we're basically going to offer equity, which you guys kindly made available to our investors. So it's pretty much the first time we're really starting to talk about it. So guys on the webinar, you're pretty much seeing it the first. So from our perspective, we're very excited to do that. So our features on our websites are very clear. You can see our projects coming. Very exciting project we're also busy with is the Roger Hamilton IPO that we're launching. And then our project that we just closed, let me just scroll up here quickly. Yeah, we just closed our Cypress Ridge funds with excellent opportunity in multifamily. Our Medical 7, there's a small piece left, and we really started also the first time in South Africa with a 0 to 1 project. So we're very excited. As you can see, we're really expanding our options. And please, when you see the coming soons, you will be able to actually click on it, and you can actually go into the actual investment, and you can see most of the details that we would like. And I think the most important feature that's coming through here is that you can add yourself to the watch list. So that's very, very important. It basically means that when we actually open up the investments, you will actually then be called and be notified ahead of the pack. So please make sure that you log in. Yeah, so from that perspective, I'm going to just jump all the way back into the presentation. Really just check if my slides is coming right there. And yeah, so we talked about this, and yeah, really, this is now very specifically not a visa portion, but if you want to invest in the project, I think one of the exceptional reasons why we like so much the EB5s with Gold Coast Center is that when we reviewed all the investments, you know, you get an EB5 and you get an investment, and that's fascinating compared to the competition. And now, if you're not focusing on a visa, you can actually just participate in the project as a normal investor. So yeah, we're pretty excited about this.
Well, with respect to Michiel, I think you guys have visited us about 15 times in downtown Hollywood. So you guys certainly have knocked hard on the doors. And eventually the managing members have relinquished and have made the offer in respect of the dilution available for you. And we're very, very, very excited about this whole crowdfunding opportunity with you.
Yes, so the project's name is called Gold Coast, Florida, Hollywood Circle. As has already been spoke about, it's a mixed-use development. We've got the Publix, which is actually a supermarket, which Stuart has not mentioned. So it's a big supermarket. So you've got a house, and you've got you can live there and eat there and everything. So the deal capex, which is the capital expenditure, because it's a development project originally, like Stuart has mentioned, they foresee that the building should be operational by September. But up until that point, it's still a development project, and that's why you'll see we're forecasting a 4% to 7% per annum quarterly distribution, because you have a bit of a stabilization period. But as you can see, the internal rate of return is going to be around 19.28%, and yeah, so the minimum investment will be $10,000, and because of the availability of the EB5 program, it sort of relates to a debt portion, you know. So, when, as Stuart has mentioned, we've been granted this opportunity to partake in this awesome building. I mean, I've walked it, and just the detailed work. I think Michiel, they
Yeah,
were already finishing with. We in South Africa is used to the what is it, screeting on the floor. These are doing on the roof, So and it's done in such a manner which you can almost see your face reflecting from it.
Yeah. So I think what's significant about this that there's really no debt. The debt is actually the people that's investing in the EB5,
yeah,
and then the remaining portion is equity, which pretty much has been brought to the table by the original founding members.
Yes.
And what such a privilege is that you can actually participate in the founding members' equity,
yeah,
and that's why this is so significant. And then, yeah, the hold is 7 years, and maybe.
Yeah, I think we mentioned 7 years. The founding members are so confident and like their project so much that they're possibly going to stay in longer, So we'll just see out the term, but we're going to stay in it 7 years for now.
All right, so yeah, I think that's pretty much the deal. For those that, I just want to give you a little bit of update on what's happening on Wealth Migrate side. So we've also been growing quite fast. Yeah, we actually got users now from 89 countries. We're well over 50 team members. And then I think really what's really fascinating for us is the repeat investor rate that we're so proud of. So yeah, guys, these are pretty important for us that our current investors are reinvesting, and that's why we're focusing so hard to get quality partners and really do that. For those that don't know, we also pretty much has had a fantastic run in the international arena, and the way that we've done things, we actually been recognized both in Africa and internationally. We're very proud of the FinTech Award that we've had. Pretty much the KPMG International Award, we came in the top 50, and yeah, we're already well over $100 million asset and management, that if you don't know. So yeah, we're pretty much growing, and so we're very clearly focused on providing an excellent opportunity for investors to easily invest and diversify their portfolio. From our perspective, we are going to manage, there's so much information that we constantly want to update. So we have scheduled around the country some workshops. We're going to start off in Midrand. Later this month, Willie will be there, myself will be there. We're going to start off in the morning really focusing on real estate. So if you want to details and come and have a chat to us, please do that. Willie, you're going to be there?
Yes, yeah. So one of the topics that we want to address is how do we do the diligence and what's important, so come visit us. I would love to meet you.
Yeah, so that's awesome. And then we'll, in the afternoon, which is absolutely stellar, is the technology side of things. Willem van der Post is a guy that has run the disruptive component or department of Ernst & Young, and he's actually recently also want to open a chapter of the Singular University from Peter Diamandis in South Africa. So a stellar guy. So if you want to have a bit of a glimpse in the future, we're also bringing all our, let's call it, high school and student kids to the event. It's 2 o'clock. It's so important that our kids and the young adults actually get to learn what's coming in the real estate, and also what's happening with artificial intelligence, what's happening with the biotechnology and all of these things. So it's a quite exciting lineup that we've got there. And then in the evening, we're going to have a bit of more a focus function with our shareholders, and that typically happens in Midrand. We're going to then move down to KZN, and I hope our favorite investors are there. I see Mike and Lizette, Michael and Lee is online, so I hope we'll see you guys there. And then in that we're going to follow with a similar program in Cape Town. And then on the Wealth Weekend, we're actually flying out some of our international partners. We're going to have a fantastic weekend where we're actually going to have our medical partner and our multifamily partner from the United States out, and we're going to host them for the weekend. So if you're interested on these events, please type it quickly in the text box that you're interested, and we'll make sure that you get there. The easiest way to actually deal with it is you'll see there's a very nice web page called the event site. You can also just go to our Wealth Migrate site and simply type there in and register your interest, and then we'll get hold of you. And yeah, so from that perspective, I think I've talked about the Technology Summit as well. That is also going to happen very soon with Willem van der Post and Dolf de Roos, our international brand ambassador. He's from Phoenix, Arizona in the United States, and he's a well-known guy from our side. So yeah, I think we're very conscious of the time, so we're going to keep it as far as possible to 8 o'clock. So what I would like to ask, is there any specific questions remaining which we could quickly address, and then I think we'll call it a day. So from that perspective, let's just see, Billy, if there's a specific question or two that we might need to answer still. Just give them a chance to see if there's something remaining. Yeah, it looks like most of the people had questions on the EB5 side, and so from that perspective, yeah. So yeah, we got one last question here.
Dusty would have a website for property circle investments.
Yeah, our direct website is www.gcfrc, but my suggestion is to make direct contact with Wealth Migrate, and they will steer you directly to the specific projects.
And last, another question is just how long is the money going to be tied up in the EB5 program? I don't know if we addressed it.
No, we haven't. Generally, your timeline is roughly a period of 5 years. Bearing in mind, it takes us 2 years to get you to approval and to the issuance of green cards. Thereafter, your green cards are regarded as conditional green cards, and during that time period, the regional centre needs to be creating the 10 jobs directly or indirectly on your behalf, and thereafter we go through the removal of your conditional status. So traditionally, your money as a lock-in phase, if I can use that terminology, is 5 years.
Yeah, I think the last question I'm going to just post again, Leon, I think now that our investors has got a bit of a background, maybe just give us an update again, what you mentioned earlier. A lot of things are now in front of the Congress, and I think the main thing is the urgency that these are now being dealt with. Maybe just give us a light of that again. Maybe we have better context now to understand what you said.
Of course, no problem. Look, with a variety of immigration options that are available, if you can go from A to Z in one shot, EB5 is still your best option unless you get married to a US citizen. Rather than hopping through certain hoops and getting certain visas, H-1B visas are going to go away. There's great scrutiny with regards to those H-1B visas that are sponsored by employers. The L visas are under great scrutiny, and it still provides you only a temporary solution rather than a permanent solution that an EB5 does. We got a program that is extended until September 30th. There's obviously some changes coming September 30th for sure. We know that. There's proposed legislation that was introduced in January, and that's what Stuart was talking about. And some of the guys who in Congress who were not too happy about the EB5 and actually wanted to kill the whole program are coming on board, which means that they're going to get enough votes in September 30th to pass a bill that will significantly change what we've got going on. For those investors that we are currently dealing with, there's a form change. The form that we use is the I-form 526. There's a couple of stuff that is coming that is extra on those forms that will make it a little bit of a different dynamic with regards to the actual filing of this application. But needless to say, I think, you know, with the law not being changing, I think that these forms is kind of a good idea or indication of what immigration is planning on doing and gearing themselves and getting ready for the change that's coming in September. Out of all of the visas and green cards that are available, this is one that goes hand in hand with Trump's whole incentive to make America great again. You as a foreign investor are making America great by bringing your investment in there and creating 10 American jobs. You are not coming over there to take a job from another American, despite the fact that you may be more and well qualified than him. You are actually contributing to society with your investment. But I think that if you can afford this program, now's the time to do it before the minimum investment goes skyrocket, and you've got a timeline with regards to the rand that is changing direction.
Just a last question is, what happens if you enter the green card lottery? What visa do you get?
You also get a green card, but it's the same thing that what happens if I go to the gas station and I buy a lottery ticket. I win $1 million, and then what happens? So there has been some South Africans that have been successful in the lottery. That is something that I don't necessarily discourage, but it is a lottery. And that's the emphasis of the whole program. And so you can probably hedge your luck on a lottery. And if I were to do so, or anybody else would do so, then you may have different chances in life.
Okay. Last question: do I need to go for an interview for EB5?
Yes, you do. When you have been approved for immigrant status, you would have a consular process that takes place. If you're here in Johannesburg, it gets done in Johannesburg. If you're in Cape Town, it gets done in Cape Town. And those interviews really are just a formality to check that we've got all your correct civil documents and current valid police clearance records. And those interviews traditionally take about 30 minutes.
Okay, awesome.
All right, that was quite informative.
Yeah, it was. And no, thank you very much, Leon and Stuart. Nice talking to you again, Stuart. Thank you a lot, Leon, for coming online in short notice. I think it was very, very valuable to hear your input.
Yeah, as always, many thanks from our side as well.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you to all investors. Thanks for all the investors being online. We try to keep it to the hour. So, yeah, we're pretty much on time. Thank you. And for those that registered, you will get a recording of this time. And then, yeah, if you have any questions, please free to contact the email addresses online that you can see, or just simply go to our website and register your interest, and we'll definitely get all of them to see if we can assist you further. Thank you very much. Hope to see you at our event. Have a good night. Thank you.